Hi, I'm Ronaldo Hardy, and today I am joined by Raymond Jetson, Chief Executive Catalyst of MetroMorphosis, and Sherreta Harrison, Sustainability Catalyst for MetroMorphosis. And we're gonna have an exciting dialogue today on intergenerational co-leadership. So this is a great springboard, right, to you, which is to help the audience to understand what intergenerational co-leadership is. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, so intergenerational co-leadership is the intentional practice of putting people from different generations in leadership positions in organizations. And so at its core, it is about creating a model of leadership that guards against isolation, burnout, and then ultimately protects the sustainability of the organization, but also of the people in the organization.
What made you lean into this model of leadership, intergenerational co-leadership? What made you lean in there?
So there are a couple of things. First of all, consistent with what Sherreta said, sometimes we say things and wear them as a badge of honor in our practice of leadership, but they're really toxic. And so, for example, heavy is the head that carries the crown, or it's lonely at the top. And we say those things as kind of these badges of, aren't I special? When in reality, they are putting forth toxic notions.
Yes.
That if this is becoming too burdensome, if it's too heavy for your head, then it might be a good idea to bring another head.
Yes.
To help bear it. And if you are lonely, then it might be a good idea to bring some company in. And so there's that practical aspect of the well-being of individuals. So very often we celebrate people to their graves because they are these noble warriors who are doing this great thing. That's not in the best interest of that person, nor is it in the best interest of the organization, because we invest so much institutional knowledge and well-being of the organization in these single bodies. And if it breaks down or the person decides to take that body somewhere else, then the organization is left with a void.
What changed because of this leadership model, both in the organization, within you personally? What would you say changed as a result of this?
From a personal perspective, it really expanded my bandwidth because there were so many elements around the actual practice of leadership organizationally that I got to share and gain a different perspective. And so it expanded my bandwidth personally. And I think that it made the organization stronger in the eyes of some folks who might not have been as receptive to a 60-year-old black man as the sole face of the leadership of the organization.
How do we get more people to embrace this model? And is it one that you feel that more people should follow?
Yes, I think that it has so many benefits to the well-being of people, to the well-being of organizations, to the well-being of work, to the well-being of communities. I think that there are benefits that inure in each and every one of those levels. And so I definitely think that it is important. I think that it is especially important in the social space, in those who are attempting to bring about change in communities. I think that it is absolutely critical for a number of perspectives. First of all, Sherreta talked about, for the first time in the history, we have these 5 generations in the workforce, in the world, all at the same time. We have 10,000 people a day turning 65 and will until the year 2030. But also, for the first time, we have more people over the age of 60 than we do under the age of 18. Wow. There are all of these things happening in the dynamics of the world around us that demand a broader lens to engage people in a meaningful way.
How would you advise people to prepare? How do they prepare for this, and how do they prime their organization to be ready for it as well?
Yeah, and so Raymond, noted some of these different things. Like, is the sustainability important? Do you have people from multiple generations, right, that are I like to call them rock stars, right? Do you have someone that has a particular skill set that is useful and kind of shines bright, right? There's also this notion of, does a lot of the work that you're doing depend on relationships, right? And so, as Raymond mentioned, when you have that kind of singular person in leadership and they decide to move on or do something different, they often take that, not just the institutional knowledge, but they take their relationships with them. And organizations sometimes can suffer from that. And so if those things, if you can say yes to a few of those things, you're probably already primed for this and should probably already be thinking about how do you create spaces for generations to work together. Right?
I know what the audience want to know, and I'm going to ask the question, okay? What happens when y'all disagree?
So we probably spent a couple of hours one Friday afternoon, with that being the central point. How do we address disagreements? Because while I truly enjoy working with Sherreta, I think that she is brilliant. I think that we have a chemistry that works together almost all of the time. But like any relationship between human beings, there are these moments where I am like, sister, no, time out. I don't know what you thinking right now.
I ain't with it though. I'm not with it. No.
I don't know what you thinking right now. I don't know how you arrived there. And likewise, in a very different way, she can look at me in a certain way, and I by now have recognized that we need to stop because we are not walking together at this point. And so we actually had to ask, so how do we disagree? What happens when we disagree? And we actually laid it out as a rubric, as a set of questions that we ask.
So you mean y'all don't just flip a coin when y'all can't agree on it? Y'all actually have a process?
We have this process that we work through, and all the time, actually, I was gonna say most of the time, but all of the time when we work through the process, we get to a place where we can advance that work. But I will say, even before we engage in that process, I think it's important to note that we expect the disagreements, right? And so I think when you think about like co-leadership and this idea that you're two people trying to do one thing, like you would think that the goal would be that you don't disagree, that you're always on the same page, and that's just not true, right? Because that's the beauty of having different perspectives, right? And so we expect the disagreement, and because we expected it, like that's what led us to developing this process, because we needed a way to be able to disagree but still advance the one thing.
This is a great conversation. I tell you, I learned from it myself, just hearing you speak on it and expanding my thoughts around what this truly looks like and what it is. And I know many of you who tuned into this, you learned as well, but you're thinking, I want to pursue this, and I kind of have a general idea of the next steps to take. I'm not quite certain on what to do. I want to say to you, just like we said earlier, you have the opportunity to reach out to MetroMorphosis to help you to walk through these steps as you work through your own organization. So don't hesitate to reach out. They are working through many processes and things of that nature to help you to advance this in your own organization. So don't try to do it alone. Don't mess it up trying to get it done without the assistance that you do need. Again, I enjoyed my time with you today, Sherreta and Raymond. This has been great to have this dialogue. Again, you taught me some things, and I'm going to take this information and grow in the organizations I lead as well. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you learned today, and we hope you'll tune in again next time.